Imagine being one of the strongest beings in the universe. You can fly faster than sound. You can punch through asteroids the size of countries. Entire planets fear the mention of your name. Sounds amazing, does it? Well, not if you're Conquest. Because despite all that power, Conquest might have the saddest life in Invincible. This is why it sucks to be Conquest. Conquest isn't just a soldier made only for war. He's possibly the oldest Viltrumite in the whole Empire. He's spent centuries doing one thing, and one thing alone. Spreading fear and blood for the Viltrum Empire. He doesn't rule planets, or wasting time building civilizations, not even enjoying victory. Just war. Over and over again. Imagine doing the same thing for hundreds of thousands of years. You'd go insane. At some point, you're no longer a person, only a function. Most Viltrumites have roles. Some are sent off to capture planets. Some raise children. Some become important figures in the Viltrum Empire, like Grand Regent or generals of Viltrum armies. For example, Nolan Grayson and General Craig. They both got high positions on the Viltrum staircase to success. But Conquest, they send him in when they want a problem or rebellion eradicated. He's less of a citizen and more of a nuclear missile with a personality. Need a rebellious planet crushed. Send Conquest. Need to make an example of someone. Send Conquest. Destroy a whole species? You know who's getting the call. The Empire doesn't value him as a person, they value him as a weapon. And weapons only matter when they're useful. Here's when things get sad. Conquest loves fighting, stating several times with Mark. During the Purge, and while fighting Battle Beast, he lives for the love of the fight. Not because he's evil for the sake of just being evil, but because war is all he's ever known since childhood. Your parents don't love you on Viltrum. They try to kill you. Imagine spending centuries where your entire identity is based around violence. No hobbies, no friendships, no goals outside the next battle. Eventually fighting becomes the only thing that makes you feel alive. And that's exactly what happened to Conquest. Humans fear him. Enemies piss themselves at the mention of his name. And some Viltrumites are uncomfortable around him because of how deranged he is. He's not respected the ways leaders are respected. He's feared. There's a huge difference. Respect gets loyalty. Fear gets you silence. The moment someone stronger appears, fear disappears instantly. That's a lonely existence. Look at Conquest. The scars. The missing arm. The blind right eye. Those show how strong Conquest truly is. When Viltrum was in its prime, and the Scourge virus killed billions of Viltrum soldiers, Conquest lost that hand and messed up his face because of the Ragnars, and he managed to flee and get away while infected. May I remind you, the gravity was so dense, Nolan and Alan had trouble escaping. This feat might not sound impressive, but considering in Nolan's book, another Viltrum soldier died to the Ragnars, and how Nolan almost died twice to them, and Nolan is possibly top 3 strongest Viltrumites, shows how much of a tank Conquest is. The biggest tragedy of Conquest isn't that he's cruel. It's that he never had a chance to become anything but a killing machine. He wasn't a father. He isn't a leader or a hero. He was a weapon built for violence, and then unleashed on the galaxy for centuries. By the time he's introduced, there's almost nothing left underneath the armor, and the muscles. Just the mission, just the fighting, just Conquest. He's an empty husk of a warrior who wishes he could be someone else or something else. And he could have. He could have fled like Nolan and gone to a different planet to seek refuge. And if Thrag sent Viltrum soldiers after him, Conquest is 100% strong enough to take them on and win. But his centuries of loyalty bites him in the ass. holding him back from the life he always wanted. But he buries those feelings deep down and covered them in a thick layer of blood. Each kill, every limb severed from muscle and bone, throws him into his continuous darkness, his thirst for blood and battle becoming more unstoppable. That has been building up for thousands of years. That's why he cherishes his fight with Invincible. There was no more boundaries and gray areas. He can let loose and pour his feelings and emotions into his cravings to kill and torture. So while fighting Mark, he wasn't taking it seriously in the slightest, just using the battle to vent all his anger and pain. Conquest is a terrifying monster to go against, like during the fight using Mark as a human surfboard. But he made a fatal miscalculation. He laid a hand on Adam, Eve, and Oliver, Invincible's girlfriend and brother, so Conquest was defeated. Underestimating the power of love, so Conquest's face was turned to mush with someone as old and strong. Losing to someone like Mark, who is 19, would be a big ego buster, strengthening his self-hatred. When he returned to Viltrum, he offered Thrag to kill him to set example, but he was spared to kill Mark again, but still failed. Conquest died with no one who loved him or liked him, dying utterly alone. Conquest has lived the worst life out of any Invincible character by far, experiencing generations worth of trauma, surviving wars that wiped out species, and watch as all potential friends or allies die from the scourge. Conquest was a man who spent centuries becoming the greatest warrior in the universe, only to realize fighting was the only thing he had left. And honestly, that sounds like a pretty terrible way to live. It turns out being Conquest isn't awesome. It absolutely sucks. Goodbye, everyone.